Hey everyone, welcome back to another show. So, who are we talking to this week? We've had Ting Taylor from Dot Mailer, we've had Lisa from The Social Word, and Harrods. Now we have got, how can I introduce him? Let's see, Mr. Email himself, Ben Harrington from Truffle Shuffle Media. Now, we talk about a little bit more in the show, but I came across Ben on LinkedIn, basically being called Mr. Email. Every time we come across any question that was related to an email, was related to email marketing, automation, all this kind of stuff, Ben's name just popped up time and time again. So it was only a matter of time before we managed to nab him and get some of his insight into email. I think today we have a really interesting chat about the way email should be structured, the way a business should approach it, email fails, email wins, how to jump on relevant content that you don't always see as being relevant to your business, but it's relevant to life in general and to things that are happening in the world or things that are happening to the media and all this kind of stuff. And I say a couple of times in the podcast, but I do really appreciate Ben taking the time. Super, super nice guy. And I hope you guys enjoy the show. And yeah, here's the interview. Okay, so this week on the show, we've got LinkedIn's Mr. Email, as I first was introduced to him, Ben Harrington. Ben, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time out to speak to us today.
No, thanks.
No, I really appreciate the time and you saying that you'd let us interview you and that kind of stuff. So I want you to kind of introduce yourself to everyone and give a background of your experience and what you've been doing over the last couple of years and stuff like that. Like when I first was introduced to you, it was through LinkedIn and it was purely through you are Mr. Email. If anyone has an email question, email problem, query, whatever it might be, your name popped up time after time after time. So can you give our listeners a little bit of a background on how you got to where you are?
Yeah, no worries. Well, I'm Ben Harrington. I'm an email marketing consultant. For the past 10 years, I've been in the marketing game, mainly focusing on email for the past 3. So when I first started, I started as a designer, did a few website designs, then progressively moved towards a marketing function as the company didn't really need any more web design doing. So I went in there, started doing email marketing. At the time, the company just was make an email, send it out to everyone and hope for the best. So it didn't really work that well because it was sending emails to a lot of people who just wasn't interested in that specific product, but they had other products that they were interested in. So I brought in some into segmentations. So from that, it ended up being their main sales tool, literally just email marketing. It was a B2B company. From there, I moved on to being a marketing manager of a stationery company, and I moved on to more e-commerce function, but always did email marketing. So within the last 10 years, I've done literally, you name any marketing function, I have probably done it. From obviously email marketing to presentations to package design. There's literally not much that I haven't done. What I found was that I spread myself too thin over everything. So like your PPC, I wasn't an expert in that, but I could do it. I wasn't an expert in social, but I could do it. But I always did email marketing. So for the past few years, I was looking at getting more jobs into like a management role, but I always found that I was lacking experience in certain aspects. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to focus fully on something that I enjoy and that I've always done. So that was email marketing. So that's pretty much the background of how I got to where I am today. From January, I went freelance, and from there it's been going strength to strength ever since. Obviously, you have your ups and downs, but reflecting back, it's been a quite good journey, and I'm looking forward to the rest.
Nice, very nice. So, what you said just then that you've been involved in email for a long time, like 10 years plus, different bits and bobs. Is it But what is it that you think has kind of stuck you with email? You said you've done PPC, you've done SEO, you've done content, and all these sorts of things. Why do you think email stood out for you and being that kind of like mainstay for the whole journey?
Well, because I started as a web designer, so I've always enjoyed the design. I've always enjoyed the build aspects, and then of course with email, not every email is the same, especially when you're a freelancer. You can work over all kinds of industries like I do, so literally every day is different. So, and then of course from the design and build part, then you've got the analytic part. So it's like literally a bit of everything, not just
build all the time and send.
Yeah. It's there's so much to do and be involved in. And then of course, if you're doing your emails and then like a click through rate's high, but they're not getting anything back, then kind of it could possibly be issues with a website. So then you can help with the CRO stuff. It's just I just enjoy it a lot more than just the general
grind of doing e-commerce activities.
well, yeah. To be honest,
yeah. So then, what if you said before? You've obviously worked for big companies and small and medium companies and all that kind of stuff. We spoke earlier on about some experience you've had in the past as well. Now that you've moved into a freelance role and kind of running your own business and getting clients, what is it that makes your approach to email different? Because like anybody can go into a business, and that's wrong. Not anybody can do it, but people will go into business and sell the dream of email. They'll say, oh, it can be this much of your revenue, that much of your revenue. We can do this and that and the other with it, depending on the platform. What is your approach when you first you have those initial conversations with clients? What is it that makes you a little bit different? Because like I mentioned before, I've never seen anyone get so many recommendations on LinkedIn as you, in terms of every time someone says, is there a guy who can do email? Your name pops up every single time. So what is it that you do, or the way you explain to a client how powerful email can be?
Well, what I do is if a client approaches me or I approach a client, especially if they approach me, I'll ask them what they're already doing. If they've got any logins, obviously create me a login, but make sure I can't touch anything, just to make them feel at ease. I'll go in and see what they're currently doing, if there's any way that we can improve on this. I'm not going to try and sell them something that isn't real. Like a lot of people have promised the earth. If I don't think I can improve it, I'll say straight up that I'm not going to improve it. If so, for example, some of the people on LinkedIn always tag me in stuff because I've worked with them previously. But it's when we've done a successful campaign, that's when like they kind of promote you. And then obviously if you don't do a successful campaign, they won't promote you. So it's important for me to give them value for money. So a lot of the people that I get are generally small businesses, or people who need something there and then. So I like to do is give them speed. So what I do is if they send me an email, I'll try and do it within the first 24 hours, sometimes less, depending on how urgent it is and obviously what I've got on. So what I ask for is they provide me the content. If it needs to go out in 24 hours, they can provide me the content, etc. Because then there's no back and forth.
Yeah,
they can expect me to build it, send it out, test it, whatever they want. But as long as they give me the content, that's fine, because then they know the company better than me. So that's what I always say to any client is, I could do the content for you, but it's going to take me quite a while because obviously I don't know your company. You know your company.
Yeah, you've got to have tone of voice and look, feel, and all this kind of thing too.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I'll tell them how I can improve it, if it can be improved, or give them hints and tips. A lot of people just ring me and ask for tips, to be honest. Yeah. And I'm happy to give them tips or help them out with strategies and things like that. I just say it how it is, to be honest. I think that's the approach that you should always take. There's no point over promising, because what if it goes wrong?
Do you still come across businesses, if you're pitching to a business, that have never touched email. Like you mentioned before, you deal with quite a few smaller businesses. Is there any that get in touch with you because they have no clue how to set it up, how to manage it, how to produce the content? What do you do in that kind of instance?
Yeah, you'll find quite a lot of companies don't, even the e-commerce companies don't use email, which I always find a bit weird.
Yeah. Do you know what? I only ask because I've had the same over the past couple of weeks and couple of months. There's been a few that I've mentioned email to them and they're like, oh, don't touch it. What do you mean you don't touch it? Like I think it's crazy. And obviously you being an email guy will think it's crazy, but people do still just dismiss it sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, I think they think it's just they get it in their inbox all the time, so they don't want to push it out to other people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people use it because it is the best marketing platform, and I'm not saying that because I do emails, but it's proven time and time again that ROI, sorry, is I think it's for every £1 spent you get 40 back. I think that's the general gist of it.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? The potential is huge if you do it right.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you do it right, so these companies might have done it before and it's not gone how they want to, or if it's B2B, they're not quite sure how it fits in. B2C, of course, you've got a few people that I've worked with have had really low open rates, and what it finds out is they send emails out every single day.
Yeah.
So they if you do that, you should expect low open rates. But the amount of people who actually don't use email is quite shocking, to be honest, when it's relatively cheap to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much hard work to do it, as long as you get it right, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's the setup as well, and the way you approach it. I have some clients as well, probably similar to you, that will email quite often, 2-3 times a week. I've worked in businesses before that do 4 to 5 times a week, and then I have people now who are like, oh no, I send twice a month because the client base and their customer base, that's what they're comfortable with. Like you said before, people get turned off because they look at the amount that they get in their role and think, I'm not going to put more on a customer's toes, when it's not necessarily always the best way to approach it, I don't think, anyway.
No, it's finding that's why testing comes into play. So if you are going to do email marketing, the best thing to do is test pretty much everything and anything you can. So the amount of times you send out a week, the amount of what times a day you send, what days you send, to what segments and things like that, because other than that, you're never going to know what works best for your business and, to be honest, for your clients.
Yeah, cool. So with that in mind, were you just saying the client range, the platform range, the testing and everything else that you do and the analysis on the back of it, do you think that email is missing anything in particular, or clients, I suppose, are missing one in particular trick that you've seen work over again, or it's a feature or a function? I know we've spoke about before, but the different bits of email where there's personalization, there's relevant content, there's you can get content now based on your IP address and all this kind of stuff, so it's geolocated, and there's hundreds and hundreds of things that you can do with an email to make it as custom as possible. But do you feel like if there was an X, it could make a difference?
What I tend to do if I go into companies that have like relatively low open rates, or they've struggled in the past, I've always tried to even add a little tiny bit of personalization. Just the tiniest bit will see it go through the roof. For example, I work for a butcher's who they didn't really personalize anything at all. Literally, I whacked the name on a subject line and it already shot up. It's like just simple tricks and tips that you can do that will see open rates go higher rather than just staying the same thing, even within emails themselves. So if you've got, for example, I'll use the butchers again. If someone's bought chicken, send them emails based on chicken if they bought that quite a few times. You know what I mean? It's just all about personalising it.
Make it relevant.
As much to the person, to the customer as you can.
Excellent. So